Evening everyone, welcome to today's video. We are focusing on Boston Matrix developed by the Boston Consultants Group. So yesterday we did a video on niche marketing and mass marketing. Today we're focusing on the Boston Matrix and want to know what it is and how to explain the Boston Matrix, and also looking at the limitations of using the Boston Matrix. So this is the video which covers A-level business studies, which is going to be very crucial in exam situation that you know the Boston Matrix. So I'm going to start by defining what is a Boston Matrix. So let's get going. So the Boston Matrix is a portfolio analysis tool. So it's a tool that was developed by the Boston Consultants Group. Its idea was that it was making sure that they analyze the product portfolio of the product that they're going to be producing. And it was categorized into 4 categories, whereby products will be divided into 4 categories, which are as labeled here, as you can see. So the Boston Matrix was to help business evaluate their products, business units based on market growth rates and relative market share, either it's high or it's low. So the Boston Matrix was developed on their basis that they wanted to know that how the market share of businesses, if their products in the growth of those products, how is it behaving? Is it going up or is it going down? So they wanted to know how best can businesses categorize their products, how best can they know how their products are performing. So the 4 categories of products that we have is that we have the stars, the problem child, and the cash cows and the dogs. But before we go there, let's look at the purpose of the Boston Matrix, which is very important for us to know as we go into this video. So the purpose of the Boston Matrix is that we have here, it helps us to allocate scarce resources effectively, which is one of the other reasons why we know that in business resources are never enough. They are always scarce, there is shortage. So with the Boston Matrix, we are trying to allocate resources in the best way in which a business can do. Then we move on to determine which product to invest in, maintain in, and harvest, milk, or divert. So the other thing is that the business will know that which products can they continue to invest in, which one can give them more profits, and which one can they divert, and which one can they get out of more profits out of it. So this is the reason why you should always remember the purpose of the Boston Matrix. We should try to find which profitable product that the business should keep and which other product can need to remove from its portfolio. Remember, we say it's the portfolio tool that they use to analyze our business, how their products are performing. Then what to remember when you're doing the Boston Matrix is that you should know that we have what you call market growth, which is equal to the industry sales growth. The industry sales growth is simply looking at the trend in which your product is being bought on the market and how many sales are you making from that product. Then you also have to know the relative market share. As you know, market share is a portion of sales that your company owns as compared to other competitive businesses in that market, right? So this is what we mean by relative market share. Our market share divided by the largest competitor's market share. That's how you look at the sales that you are earning from your product that you're owning. So let's now go through the diagrams. The diagram here, we have market share labeled here, and we have growth and potential. We're looking at the potential of the markets. Either is there any potential that this product can continue, or we have to dissolve this product. So these are some of the things that you have to know when you are doing the Boston Matrix. So the most important thing is that you won't be asked to draw it in exam situation. Those are rare cases. You're supposed to know how to explain the Boston Matrix, its usefulness, and some of the limitation of using it. So let's start from the problem child. So the problem child is a product which is have a lower market share in a higher growth industry. So this is a product that is not yet well established itself. It's still struggling in the market. So this is what is going to happen is that it is what we call the introduction stage of the product life cycle. So this product need to, for you to invest, you need to promote it heavily, that you attract what you call early demand investors, or like, what can I say, early customers, what you call early adopters, to come and buy your product. So the other thing is that you have to spend on promotion to make sure that you promote this product, that people can start buying it. Then we go to the stars. The stars, they have a higher market share in the higher growth industry. These are the products which are actually performing very well. They are making us profits, and they are at the growth stage of the product life cycle. This is whereby we are looking at the late adopters coming in and buying our product, and they're actually increasing the sales of this business. But actually what you have to make sure that you understand is that sales will be rising at the growth stage, but you have to make sure that you continue to promote your product heavily so that it will continue to rival your other competitors so that they don't get a chance to steal some of your profits that you're making. So you need to spend money on promotion to rival products that they can compete with you. You'll be ahead of time. You'll be ahead of them. Then we'll move on to the dogs. The dogs are these are the products which have low market share and lower growth. These are the products you're not really doing well in the market, and they are now at their decline stage. So as a business, you now have to decide: can you continue to operate these businesses because they have low sales, or we can easily remove them from our portfolio, or can you promote it, or can we use extension strategies where we can sell it to other countries, or once that fails, then we have to remove them from our portfolio because they're going to make us a loss as a business. So this is where you have to consider that when you have a product which is at the dogs, and because you have to consider that should you extend the life cycle or should you delete it from your portfolio. You have to decide as a business when the product is now at the decline, because what is happening is that everyone wanted the product, you now bought it, and no one wants it anymore. So let's look at the last product, which is cash cows. They have a higher market share in a lower market growth. These are the products which are actually in a stable market, whereby they've actually increased sales for the business. At the same time, they're at their maturity stage and saturation. This is where sales are at their highest peak. Everyone wanted the product, they bought it. So what we have to do is that to make sure that the cash cows, we have to use some of the profits that we have from the cash cows to put on the problem child, because remember we said the problem child is at the introduction stage, so we can use some of the profits from the cash cows because these are the products which are now in the maturity. They've matured in the market and they are at the saturation stage where the sales are their highest, and we can use some of the profits to help the problem child so that we can able to get it on its feet, that it can then gain market share. So that is the Boston matrix covered perfectly. Let's look at the limitation of doing the Boston matrix that you have to know. So the first thing is that it oversimplifies things. That's some of the things that it looks at two things like growth, market share and market growth, where we know that business are the things that you have to consider. We have things like technology, competition. These are some of the things, and profitability of businesses. You have to consider those things when you are doing a business. The product life cycle of the Boston matrix doesn't consider that. The portfolio of the Boston matrix didn't consider, they only focus on market share and market growth. Then also have a relative market share can be misleading. Sometimes the businesses are different, right? So the relative market share that you are actually presenting can be different when we go to the market. Other products which can look like they are performing really well on the market can actually make more sales than you anticipate. So that's the problem where we have misleading information. Then we move on to it ignores internal factors. That's some of the things that it does. It ignores the internal factors. Then let me continue. It ignores the internal factors, some of the factors that are very important, like the management culture and the conflicts of leadership style that you're using in a business, and some of the internal factors that it doesn't consider. Then lastly, it's not suitable for all businesses. Not all business can favor this product like this Boston matrix, because what it does is that it's much more focused on having a larger business. If you have a small business, you can't really use the Boston matrix. And some of the limitations that it's not suitable for all businesses. Other businesses don't want to use the Boston matrix because they have very little products and they are small businesses. So it's much more suitable for large businesses to use the Boston matrix. So that's the Boston matrix covered perfectly from what it is and the purpose and what to remember when you're doing the Boston matrix, and explaining the four categories that we have, the four products which are labeled the stars, the problem child, the cash cows, and the dogs, and the limitations of using the Boston matrix, which was developed by the Boston Consultants Group. I will see you in the next video when you do the answer of matrix. Bye for now.